If you're watching this, you'd probably put more hours into Fallout than you would admit out loud to your non-Fallout friends. Maybe you were on your 4th Fallout 4 playthrough, maybe you fired up New Vegas again last week for the 10th time. The games still hold up. That's not the problem. The problem is you know them cold. Every vault, every perk, every ending, and you want that same feeling from a world you haven't already memorized. That's what this list is for. I'm gonna share 7 post-apocalyptic RPGs, all playable right now, and each one hits specific elements of what makes Fallout Fallout. And then I'll add one honorable mention at the end. Fallout's a weirdly specific mix with RPG builds, dark satire, open world exploration, survival, faction politics, all soaking in that post-nuclear atmosphere where every ruined building has a story rotting inside it. I'm picking games that capture that same identity as much as possible, either with their tone, story, mechanics, or world building. So for each game, I'll cover in what way it matches Fallout's identity and who it's actually for, so that you're not 40 minutes into a download before you find out it wasn't the itch you were trying to scratch. Okay, let's get into it. Game 1, Metro Exodus. If your favorite version of the apocalypse is the one that actually feels apocalyptic, start here. Metro Exodus is set in Russia a couple decades after the bombs fell, and the world is constantly actively trying to kill you, with radiation, mutants, weather, and other desperate people. It never lets you forget the apocalypse happened. You play Artyom, and instead of clearing bandit camps for loot, you're crossing an entire ruined country. Deserts, frozen rivers, dead forests, trying to find somewhere your people can actually live. Metro makes you care about the people next to you, and I really like that. Your crew on the train are not quest dispensers with an exclamation mark floating above their head. They talk, they argue, they have their own values and beliefs, and they remember things. So when something happens to one of them, it actually lands and it hits you emotionally. Mechanically, it's scavenging and survival with the safety off. You craft on a filthy workbench out in the field. Your gun gets so caked with grime it starts to jam mid-fight. Your gas mask cracks and you're scrambling to swap the filter before your air runs out. Bullets are scarce enough that a big firefight feels like a bad financial decision, and there's a quiet morality system underneath all of it. But there's no meter or pop-up or Paragon versus Renegade points like in Mass Effect, for example. Here, it just remembers how you treated people, and the ending shifts based on it. Overlap with Fallout. Excellent post-nuclear atmosphere. Scavenging and crafting. Survival that actually bites. Mutants and factions. Consequences that show up hours later. Weaknesses. This is a guided journey, not a true open world, so there's less wandering off for hours on end. Stealth AI has its dumb moments. If you ever wished Fallout would drop the quirky tongue-in-cheek energy and take its own apocalypse more seriously, Metro Exodus is the one for you. Game 2, Horizon Zero Dawn. This is a bit of a wild card on the list, so stick with me. Horizon is post-apocalyptic, but it skips the nukes and rubble version. Instead, it's 1,000 years later, humanity's back to tribes and spears, and a planet's been taken over by machines shaped like animals. So basically robot dinosaurs. You play Aloy, an outcast trying to figure out 2 things at once. Why the old world ended, and how the hell we ended up with mechanical saber-tooths roaming the tall grass. And it is absolutely gorgeous. Snow-capped mountains, overgrown ruins, drought cities with trees punching through the concrete. It's the prettiest apocalypse you will ever walk through. Underneath the sci-fi coat of paint, the combat is stat-driven in a way that you'll recognize immediately. Machines have specific weak points and damage types. You're scanning a target, spotting the exposed component, and then swapping to the right ammo to blow it off. You lay a tripwire between 2 trees, lure a 2-ton murder machine into it, and watch it come apart into salvage that you then craft into better gear. And that loop of scan, plan, exploit, loot, it's more Fallout than the setting would let on. And the environmental storytelling scratches the exact itch. Half the lore is you standing in a pre-collapse facility, piecing together how it all ended from the logs and the wreckage, which is the Fallout terminal reading impulse, but, you know, a little prettier. Overlap with Fallout. Open world exploration through ruined civilization, crafting and weapon/gear mods, environmental storytelling in the ruins, scan, plan, exploit, combat with real build choices. Weaknesses. Human enemies are a lot weaker than the machine fights. The story takes a while to show you how deep the lore actually goes. If you want a post-apocalypse that isn't all brown rubble and misery, one that you'll actually stop to take screenshots of, Horizon gives you exactly that. Gauge 3. Cyberpunk 2077. This one's not technically post-apocalyptic, it's dystopian. But if what actually hooked you on Fallout wasn't the wasteland itself, but the role-playing, building your character your way, talking your way out of a fight, a world and characters that react to your choices, then Cyberpunk hits it all. Plus, it's just an incredible game, so it's staying on the list. The launch was terrible, but that was years ago. And now, after patches and the Phantom Liberty expansion, Night City is now one of the most dense, most reactive RPG sandboxes available. So instead of scavenging irradiated ruins, you're going through corporate districts, gang turf, and neon back alleys. But the loop underneath is pure Fallout. You build V, your character, however you want, and I mean however you want. Stealth, hacking, guns, any combination of the three. You upgrade your gear, you specialize, you solve problems your way. Full-on netrunner who never fires a shot? Go for it. Walking tank who kicks the door in? Also works. And it's the choice and consequence that I really enjoy. Dialogue branches. Relationships shift based on what you do. Whole story arcs and endings swing on decisions you made hours earlier. Overlap with Fallout. First-person RPG with real build variety. Deep choice and consequence and branching dialogue. A world that reacts to who you decide to be. Gear, mods, and character progression that really matter. Weaknesses. Not about wilderness exploration. It's a dense city, not an open wasteland. Fewer of those wander off and stumble into something weird moments that Fallout is famous for. If you love Fallout for the role-playing and not just the rubble, Cyberpunk may quietly become the best RPG you play all year. Game 4. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 Heart of Chernobyl. After Cyberpunk's Neon, this one drags you straight back into the mud. This is probably my most hardcore pick on the list. Let me put it this way. If Fallout is adventure with a little optional suffering, S.T.A.L.K.E.R is suffering with a little optional adventure. It's set in the Chernobyl exclusion zone, and the zone really does not want you there. Radiation, mutants, bandits, and these physics-bending anomalies that'll turn you inside out if you walk into the wrong patch of air. And then every so often, the sky itself goes off, a blowout, and if you're not indoors when it hits, you're dead. That's the tone of the game. The place is actively hostile. With S.T.A.L.K.E.R, nobody holds your hand. There's no glowing breadcrumb trail telling you where to go. You talk to other stalkers around the campfire, you pick up rumors, you find a note, and you piece it together yourself. Or you don't, and then stuff doesn't get done. Exploration is something you do, not something the quest marker does for you. And survival is the main texture of it. Your gun degrades and jams. Ammo and medkits are so precious that every firefight is a real decision. You head into the zone with a plan and a full kit, and you limp back out with neither. It's the more hardcore version of survival. Overlap with Fallout. Post-apocalyptic scavenging with radiation and anomalies to survive. Factions with their own agendas. Non-linear, figure-it-out-yourself exploration. Weird science and genuinely dangerous environments. Weaknesses. Steep and unforgiving. It expects you to work things out, and it will not ease you in. More FPS survival than typical RPG. So if you need companions and branching dialogue, that's thin here. But if you ever said, I wish Fallout punished me more, congratulations, weirdo. Wish granted. Game 5. Dying Light the Beast. After S.T.A.L.K.E.R's Slow Dread, Dying Light the Beast picks up the pace. This is my horror pick, and it's really fast. You play Kyle Crane, back after 13 years of being experimented on. It's set in Castor Woods, a rural, forested area overrun by the infected. It's a nice change from the usual city rooftops the series is known for. The hook is the day-night cycle, and it is very brutal in the best way. Daytime is yours. You scavenge, you craft, you parkour across the map, you feel powerful. And then the sun goes down, and the whole thing becomes a sprint for your life. Fallout has radiation storms that send you looking for cover. The Beast has Nightfall that makes you seriously question every decision that led you here. The new twist is Beast Mode, a transformation that turns you into a raw, melting monster. Huge power in exchange for control. And the combat is gory and improvised, but it also keeps you honest. Blunt versus bladed actually matters. Special infected have nasty tricks like going invisible or ambushing you. And plus, there's 4-player co-op with shared story progress. overlap with Fallout. Scavenging and crafting under real pressure. Day-night environmental danger. Post-apocalyptic factions and survivor settlements. Improvised physical combat choices. Weaknesses. If you hate horror, tension, or being chased, this isn't for you. The story is serviceable, but it's not New Vegas. This one's about the moment-to-moment, not role-playing. But if your favorite part of Fallout 4 was creeping through the glowing sea with 3 stim packs and a bad feeling, this is that, turned up to 11. Game 6, Adfall. Adfall may be the most British thing you ever play. It's set in an alternate 1960s England where the real-world wind-scale nuclear disaster of 1956 went a lot worse than it did in our actual timeline. The result is a quarantined zone full of giant robots, strange infections, and a whole lot of mystery. The setting is so interesting, but I really like that the game respects your intelligence. There aren't quest markers holding your hand. There's no yellow paint telling you where to climb. You get dropped into this world, and you're left to follow your own curiosity. And the game literally opens with a vault-style sequence that feels instantly familiar and then takes you somewhere completely on its own. It's got the Wicked Isle and Red Strain expansions, so there's more of it now than there was at release. Overlap with Fallout. Post-nuclear setting with a retro-futuristic tone. Exploration-first design that trusts you to figure it out. Scavenging factions and mystery-driven storytelling. Environmental discovery over market chasing. Weaknesses. It avoids hand-holding. If you like structure and map guidance, this can be disorienting. Combat genuinely isn't great, especially compared to a AAA RPG. If the thing you miss most about old Fallout is being fully lost in a place and having to work it out yourself, Atomfall is the closest anyone's gotten to that feeling in years. Game 7, The Outer Worlds. Now, The Outer Worlds was made by Obsidian, the studio that made Fallout New Vegas, led by Tim Kaine and Leonard Boyarsky, the 2 guys who literally created the original Fallout. Now, to be clear, it's not as good as New Vegas, but I think it's unfair always comparing it against New Vegas because it's a pretty damn good game in its own right. It's set in a corporate dystopia out in deep space. You wake up from cryosleep into a solar system run by mega corporations that treat their workers like disposable office furniture. Your job is to wade through that mess with a gun and a smile. Mechanically, it's Fallout DNA all the way down. You've got branching quests, faction politics, companions with real personal storylines, persuasion checks, and that specific dark humor where the game makes you laugh at how bleak everything is. The RPG side is flexible. Your build changes your dialogue options and how you can solve quests. There's even a flaw system where the game watches how you play and offers you a permanent weakness in exchange for extra perk points. For example, panic around robots enough and it'll literally give you a scared of robots flaw to trade. Overlap with Fallout. Choice-driven quests with real consequences, deep companion writing and faction politics, skill-based dialogue and persuasion, dark satirical humor with an actual point of view. Weaknesses. It's shorter than people expect. You will not get hundreds of hours from it. A couple of zones feel a little empty, and the back half is much faster than the front. It's not the New Vegas. If you're tired of waiting for Bethesda to make the Fallout you actually want, the people who made the best one already made this. And now for the honorable mention, Fallout London. I couldn't put this one on the main list because it's technically not a standalone game. Fallout London is a total conversion mod. But honestly, calling it a mod really undersells it. It's more ambitious and more polished than most things that you pay full price for. Instead of the American 1950s, you get a distinctly British post-war apocalypse. Bombed out London, its own factions, its own history. You even get a bulldog companion named Churchill instead of Dogmeat, which is just lovely. It's got around 200 quests, roughly 20 factions, celebrity voice actors, and a map about the size of Fallout 4, the base game. And because it runs on Bethesda's own creation engine, it plays exactly like Fallout because mechanically it basically is Fallout. So I won't make the overlap with Fallout list. And the only real weakness of it is that it's PC only. So that's the 7 games plus 1, each one hitting a different part of what you've been missing. Metro, if you want the apocalypse taken seriously. Horizon, if you want it gorgeous. Cyberpunk for the depth of roleplay, S.T.A.L.K.E.R. if you want it to hurt, Dying Light if you want to be chased through the woods at midnight, Atomfall if you want to be properly lost again, The Outer World if you want the New Vegas people back at the wheel, and Fallout London if you want, well, just more actual Fallout. Till next time, take care.